I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and welcome to our monthly AZUL with subscribers stream, where I'll be playing against anybody of you who wants some games of AZUL, and we'll be talking about AZUL strategy in the process. So yesterday we had the AZUL Mind Sports Olympiad, so I decided to double down on the AZUL content. Oh, that's great. Yeah, so let me actually... So we have already our first challenger. Let me just look at the screen name real quick. Yeah, so I think... Yeah, there we go. So that was relatively quick. Yeah, in order to play with me, all you need to do is either send me a challenge on Board Game Arena, or if you don't have premium, you can just send me a message on the live stream. I'm just gonna put normal paste so that there's some time to explain some of my moves. Okay, so hi DarkMommyX. Well, we have quite a wet board here. Let's try to figure out what is going on with that. Also, so 3 golds. It's certainly an opportunity that we could use. We could absolutely use that. I'm just checking some of my stream settings in the meantime. All right, back to actually playing. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Well, I guess we could take the 3 golds, right, for the middle row. And then we would have some blues. There's 4 blues. Some of them we could use for row 4. Honestly, I think there's no need to overthink this. It's just a strong move. Either our opponent gets... the starting player token with one of the blacks, or our opponent, I don't know, takes one of the double tile groups, in which case we can get the 2 blacks. Now, yeah, so they choose, okay, we don't get the 2 blacks, but we can get the starting player token. It's an interesting decision, though. Should we do that? So they are opposing on the middle column, as they should. And honestly, I guess I could just grab the 2 whites and maybe, I could actually go to the middle column myself, then I'm gonna go here. But then I can't really do that, because the problem of taking the whites is that they don't give any threat, right? Because it doesn't force my opponent to react. So I think what I'm gonna do instead, I'd rather take the starting player token myself, and here's my reasoning. So there are 3 reds. I'm likely to get 2 of the reds here, and then I'm likely to get a configuration with either 2 blues, 2 whites, or I could also go with 2 whites, 2 blacks, and sort of... There's a very, very powerful configuration in AZUL where you have 2 tiles for the bottom rows over here and completed top 3 rows over here. Even though these columns are like when you have a half of a column and the bottom half of an adjacent column when they're not fully aligned. The point is that when you finally fill in the center, in the next round you get a boatload of points. And so this is something that could happen. Okay, so they take the starting player tile, which makes sense. What do we do? I could take the whites and put them in row 4. But then this allows my opponent the middle row. But maybe I'm okay with this. Okay, I think actually the better move is just to go here. Just be a little bit more patient. Aha, so they are just continuing building normally. So will we. So they are acting wisely in the sense that they're taking away the whites, which I need, and they're opposing me not on the column that I'm building, because I will have the starting player tile, and they know that. And they know that. And so they want to make sure that they're not in a position that they need the same elements as I do. Okay, so what could we do? We could either take the 2 blacks, in which case we're gonna end up with 1 blue extra over here, and then 1 tile on the floor. Or I could take the blue now. Well, no, if I take the blue now, then I'm left without row 2. Well, I could take this blue, actually. Then they take the blue. And then I take the reds, they take the blacks. No, I don't think I want to give them the blacks. I think I want to do this. Yeah. So the point of putting the 2 blacks on the second row, even though it doesn't align my column perfectly, it is to make sure that they don't get the blacks for the bottom row, because they don't really have a good place to use the reds. And I'm trying to exploit that. I think there's a slight misstep from my opponent. I think they should have taken something else instead, because they will be now in a position where they need to discard the 2 reds. Not that it's going to matter that much. It's going to cost them 1 point. So of course we're going to discard the 1 yellow. They discard the 2 reds. 2-1 is the tally of the discarded tiles, and so far it's a good position. Wow, what a run out. I mean, I don't get to complain about that. Well, there are not as many reds as I would like there to be. But I think actually, so I have 2 options. One is I could just take the 1 white, put it here, and then force them to take these 3 whites, discard something in their floor line. Then I would take the starting player tile and so on and so on. No, actually I changed my mind. I'm going to take the 3 whites, force my opponent to take the 1 white, which I think is a necessity for them. And then I'm going to grab the 1 blue. And then I will leave my opponent without row 3. And it's quite annoying for them. Actually, I have a better idea. I might go here instead. And then if my opponent grabs the 3rd row, then they're left without row 2 and, well, or maybe not. But then they should be getting like all these, but then they'll be getting all these extra blacks. Anyway, let's see what happens. I haven't fully calculated it through. Well, I have actually. So this is what I saw, that I'd be taking away all these blacks. My opponent is left without the 2nd row. I will be discarding a boatload of tiles, but it is worth it. Because I will be having 0 points, but I will be leaving my opponent without row 2. I'm not sure if that's like the optimal solution, because what I could have done instead, I could have placed these reds over here and tried to complete row 3 like this, But then the problem, I would have had nowhere to put the blacks, and the configuration, it just wouldn't have worked tactically as well, because all the elements in the center, they just converge too quickly. So now, of course, my opponents will be reshuffling very aggressively, but there isn't really much that they can do. Yeah, so this is an option, although I think the strongest move was actually slightly different. So now, no, actually that's a good move. I mean, I will be discarding a boatload of tiles. They got one black, but they're not getting row 2. And I will be continuing to just hammer away. By the way, so 4 of those discarded. 2-6, I think, is the tally of discarded tiles, which means that we will be at risk of running out of yellows at some point. Okay. Not a great run out here. What could we do? We could take either the blues or the reds. I think at this point I will just need to allow my opponent to finish row 5. And then hope to sneak a row 5 of my own as soon as these two guys converge in the center. And then my rough idea is to allow my opponent the blues here, get gold here, something like this. Okay, but let's get the gold first. There are some reasons why I wanted to do this. Yeah, my opponent's getting the blues, which is fine with me. Okay, so they're now getting the blacks, continuing their column. Well, what should I do? I think this is reasonable. Just trying to maximize my adjacency bonuses and also solve my yellow problem as soon as possible. There are now a couple of ideas that I have, and one of them is, let's say, if my opponent wants to take one black for here, then the two whites will converge and I'll immediately get this. And I will still have the opportunity to grab these yellows. Also, these yellows were sort of a priority because there were 3 yellows which fit nicely over here for my opponent's middle row. So we want to prevent that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now it should be fairly standard, right? So we get this. We use this standard tactic. Now my opponent really should be taking the whites. Now it's a great question. Should I just discard a boatload of tiles? Or should I just take the blacks, simply to prevent my opponent from taking the blacks? And honestly, my opponent's blacks are looking quite dangerous. Let's actually think about how many total blacks there are. So no were discarded, 6, 9, 14. There's 6 more blacks remaining, which means that if my opponent goes here, they have a very good chance of getting boatload of points here, well, at least 6. So I think I need to do this. The downside of that move is the fact that I have nowhere to put golds, right? Because normally, like, for example, imagine if there are 4 golds in the next round. I'm not able to go over here and get my 6 points. But luckily, my opponent clogged the row 4. I don't think there are enough blues remaining to justify this. But let's see, I may be wrong. And my opponent's still ahead 3 points. I kind of keep forgetting that. But also it's an illusion. The reason my opponent is sort of kind of ahead... Oh boy. Okay, this is tough. A very tough run out. The reason my opponent is sort of kind of ahead is because I haven't completed my column yet, and I will be getting these extra 5 points. But now that I think about this, yeah, I will be losing quite a lot of points on the floor line. So, what are our options? I could either grab the first player tile immediately, or I could get this first. Then my opponent gets this. Then I get the blacks. Then my opponent gets whites. I get whites. My opponent gets... Yeah, it's just not enough. So I think I might have to allow my opponent to complete the row 4. Wait. So we do this, does this. Take the blacks, takes the whites. I take the whites. My opponent takes the whites, and then there are 3 things remaining, and I'm forced to discard big time. There's no... I mean, this is really, really tough. Okay, what if I take the blue? My opponent takes the whites. I take the whites. My opponent takes the whites. I take the whites. No. What if I take the blue? My opponent takes the whites. Okay, so I take the blue. My opponent takes the whites. I take the blacks. My opponent takes the whites. I take the whites. My opponent takes the whites. Yeah, I mean, we will... Honestly, I think I just need to forget about the blacks. That's the main idea there. Okay, we need to play something. Let's just go by instinct. I feel that this is quite important to get that tile. It's very important. Also, now that I think about this, I mean... Well... Okay. I think I need to do this. And then maybe then... Oh, yes. There we go. Well, no, if I do this, then my opponent just kind of grabs a nice, easy 5 points. But what if I take the blacks instead? Actually, no. Yeah, let's do this. It's a tricky situation here. But I think there's just no good outcome for me. So what I'm really hoping there is just that my opponent would make a mistake. Okay. How many whites are remaining? 9, 10, 12, 16. 4 whites are remaining, so I can't clog my row 3. Or maybe I can. You know what? I think I just need to free up. Like, I need to allow my opponent to finish row 4, because it's just so annoying to have so many rows clogged. And yeah, I have to do this. Maybe I needed to take the one blue instead and force my opponent to discard. But I don't like the idea of having 2 rows clogged. Well, let's see in a second how that works out. I'm minus 14, so that didn't work out great. Oof. Yeah, that's rough. Okay, let's try this, I guess, maybe? Or maybe I need to get the golds first. No. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. There's really not enough time to think, but I feel like I'm misplaying this a little bit. Oh, okay. Maybe we can do that. Because we know that our opponent can finish the game basically whenever they want. Huh. Well, I guess now we need to take this, no? Because it's just too big of a threat. Then my opponent needs to take the 1 gold. Then I take the 1 blue. Or maybe I can take the 1 blue, they take the 3 whites, I take the 1 blue, and we discard 2 tiles each. That's one option. Or I take the blue, they take the blue. No, actually, never mind. We both discard the same amount. So I just need to do this to create the threat. Yeah, it's not going to be enough to win, unfortunately. I feel like there's something different that I could have done. I don't know. It felt maybe clogging my row 4 was not the best. Was not the best solution, but do let me know. It also doesn't help that my opponent played well. 1 point. 1 point is the loss only. I thought it was worse. So maybe there was something we could have done after all. So it was correct that I decided to free up my row 4 in the 3rd round. Maybe, you know what, maybe I should have grabbed 1 blue here at some point. Maybe that was the main issue. And just, I should have been more okay with allowing my opponents the starting player tile in the last round. Yeah. Because in the last round, there just weren't enough threats that we could create. Maybe I could have considered grouping together the multiple reds a little bit earlier, but it wasn't possible to do so because I needed the blues in 2 places. But you see, but had I placed the blue here in the penultimate round, then I would have needed whites in 2 places. So it was really a difficult situation, just no matter what we do with it. But if somebody has any thoughts, then do let me know. I would be curious. All right, so time to... Yeah, also I think like my opponent didn't make any mistakes. So yeah, very, very well played. Well, anyway, before our next challenge, I think I'm just going to create a table and play with a random experts. But of course, I prefer viewers, so if somebody wants to show up, then do let me know. Yep, obviously. So Okay, I'm too impatient. I'm going to actually even limit. Remove the limitations. Okay. So we're playing against a player with screen name Anamix. Home. I haven't played before. Belgian flag. They get a fantastic run out. They get a lovely, lovely run out, which is not helpful. But it is what it is. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. I want to try and oppose them on the second column. This is very textbook. Okay, so what could we do? Yeah, I think we're gonna do this. Okay, I know what I'm gonna do. Then they're going to take the blue, or they should, yeah. Then I'm going to take, well, the reds are I think I should take the blacks. Then they take, yeah, of course I should take the blacks. It's not even a question, because then if I don't do that, then they take the blacks for the row 5. And to be efficient, I'm going to use not the golds but the blues. And here my opponent blocks their row 4, which normally is not a great idea, but here I actually agree with them because it's still early on. They will be able to free up this row quite soon enough, especially when they get this fantastic run out. I mean, what are we gonna do? I have no reds whatsoever. Oh, this is rough. This is really rough, but I think I have a solution. My solution is I'm gonna try and make the 3 blues converge. Actually, wait, should I even do that? So I could either make the 3 blues converge, or I could take the 2 blues straight up, and then if they take the blue, I take this, which forces them into a really unenviable position. But what if I go here, they're forced to take 3 blues, and then I take something like 1 black, they're forced to take 3 whites, I guess. Now that could also work, but I think this is a little bit more precise. Yeah, exactly. Because now I get to do this, and it should be quite unpleasant for my opponent. Well, they should have actually placed them in row 2, not row 3, because they're losing too many negative points. So this is, I think, the first real mistake of my opponent here. I don't mind clogging up my row 5 with 1 red, because I will need the reds in row 5 anyway for my second column, and also because there's so many reds remaining in the deck. So this was quite sort of an advantageous round for me. I'm now 14 points ahead, and also have the advantage in row 2. Well, let's see. They have the starting player tile. It's a decent run out for us. There's some reds. There's actually 5 reds for row 5. There are 2 golds for row 2, which both me and my opponent need. There's plenty of blues, 4 different blues scattered across 4 different plates, so I will be able to complete my row 3 pretty much no matter what. Oh, this is actually quite smart. Yeah, because they choose to complete their row 3 first. Do we have anything better than this? Not necessarily. Or maybe with okay, now we do have something, right? So now at least we can force some concessions. Okay. Just trust me. Just trust me. It should work. Famous last words. Okay, so we have to do this. I think we have to do this. Or do we? Yeah, we do. My opponent, of course, takes the 4 reds, which is unpleasant, but there will be more reds. I should still be able to finish my row 5. I sacrificed my row 2, but so did my opponent. Okay, if I take 1 black, they take the 3 blues. I lose 3 points. But if I take 1 black, if I take 3 blues, I lose 4 points. Actually, you know what? I think I should do this instead, because if they fill, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna let them have their blues, because this means that if we now get a run out of blues, all their top 3 rows will be clogged, so they will have nowhere to put the blues. Do you see what I'm talking about? Do you see what I'm talking about? Okay. Now, this is a very interesting run out. Very interesting run out. Just incredible. I think I have to start with this. It's just too good. Can't let my opponent have this. Maybe I'm letting them have too many reds. I don't know. Okay, now we need to think really, really carefully. Because we can't allow any floor line shenanigans. Okay, I know. Let's start with this. Yeah, I thought my opponent might feel that way. Then let's continue with this. And the idea was to take away the row 2 from my opponent. And the final idea was to do this and force my opponent discard then just a boatload of tiles. And then we might not have to finish our column because my opponent will have discarded a boatload of tiles. So we're getting 8 extra points in discarded tiles. Although I'm experiencing some other problems. For example, I sacrificed my top row so much that I will not be able to even finish the game. I mean, 16 points advantage should do it. Like, it should do it. Okay. What's a good move? Not reds, because actually my opponent cannot put reds anywhere. So that's convenient. Let's see. Do we want our opponent to finish the game? Well, actually, maybe we do. Let's try this. I didn't even think this through. It's based solely on intuition. Wow, so they're gonna just discard this. Like there's no tomorrow. That's interesting. Okay, we're just going to take some golds because we need them. And now look at this, look at this. Now we're going to play the standard tactic. And if my opponent finishes the game with either of these tiles that they have, I think they're losing. So they actually have to discard. This is so funny. I think they have to just place their gold into row 5 or something. So they have to force matters into the 6th round. And I think I can make them discard again. So my options are either taking the blacks for row 2 or taking the golds. And the advantage of taking the gold is that I will simply be scoring 3 extra points, because my opponent will be forced to discard this. And actually, the more I think about it, I think it's the better move, because let's say if I take the blacks, I mean, all I'm gaining is an extra point over here. Also, I'm clogging up all my rows with blacks because I will be no longer able to use this line for blacks. And also, I'll be allowing my opponent 2 golds over here, and this will bring them close to complete color. There will be absolute threat of complete color, which they can use. So the reason I'm going to take the 2 gold is because my opponent cannot finish the game. I mean, my opponent cannot use these blacks over here because they don't have enough points to win. If they finish the game and like to put them out of their misery, well, then that's it. They're going to lose. So they need to risk it and put the game into round 6. Yeah. So well played here by my opponent. They're grabbing onto their chances, and you have to give them respect for that. Although the score is 34-0. 0. And they don't even have a gold. So this is quite an unlucky run out for my opponent. They have something going for them. Like, they will take 1 white. They will be able to complete their column. I will absolutely be discarding 14 points on the scoreboard. They will be finishing both their rows. Like, there are good things that happening for my opponent. But also, they will not be able to discard reds. So I have that going. And I absolutely want to be using reds at some point. But we can wait. We can actually take the blues and threaten row 4. Because also, if we're not careful enough, my opponent can grab 2 blacks over here and 5 blues at the bottom and finish this column. So we don't want for that to happen. What else can we do? I could grab the 2 blacks myself, but it's only a couple of points. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do this. Just for the sake of creating some threats. And also, we really don't need the row 4 for anything else, because the only thing that we can put on row 4 is reds and blues, and reds we can obviously put either to complete our column, or we can put them over here, or to complete one of our rows. Yep, exactly, thought so. Well, now I think we should actually take this further and try to be patient with our top row. Or should we actually? Or should we just do this? Should we just do it, huh? Yeah, I think we should do it first. Because if we don't do it, there's a scenario how... Okay, there are just some negative scenarios for us, but now I will force my opponent to discard 3 whites. That's the plan. Because they have to take 1 blue. Yeah, but it doesn't matter how exactly they take them, because then I could also take 1 blue, they take 1 red, I take 1 black, they take 3 whites. And that's like 7 extra negative points for my opponent. And they will be finishing this game with a very low score. They will have a completed column, and they will have a completed row. Like they will have actually quite a productive round, but because they discarded so much in the floor line, and yeah, they were quite unlucky in having 0 golds in this round. Okay, but this would have given them like 15 more points, so it wouldn't have mattered for the outcome of the game, and as a result we win plus 28. But let's have a look at the statistics here. So number of turns, yeah, so roughly the same level of efficiency, but look at this, 45 lost points with floor line. This is just absolutely huge, and you can really... Yeah, so no column is going to compensate for that. So you might have seen that in the previous rounds, when I needed reds for my bottom row, I always kept postponing grabbing the reds. And the reason why I kept postponing that is because my opponent kind of kept using reds in places which weren't fully necessary for them. For example, row 5. And when row 5 was clogged, row 4 was also clogged with whites, so they didn't have any place where they could put their reds, and so they ended up dumping loads of reds in the floor line. But from dumping reds in the floor line, they're losing so many points that they're giving me even more value than I would have gained by simply getting these 5 extra points for the bottom row and the 7 points for the column. So they lost way, way more than these 12 points on the floor line, which is why it is okay to not complete a column if it costs your opponent floor line points. So anyway, thanks to this Belgian player for the game. And let's play a couple more. So always viewers are preferred. I also need to remind you that I'm streaming this one with a 1-minute delay, I think, if I didn't change my settings. So what you're hearing is past me and the commentary from past me. Oh, wow. So out of all players whom we could have gotten, we're now playing with Self-Evident, who, well, spoiler alert, is the reigning Mind Sports Olympiad champion. You might watch my stream from yesterday. I commented on his games live, and he's just an incredible player. So currently rated over 740, but that's because that's their new account. They're actually much, much stronger than that, like a 900 level, approximately that. Okay, I do have a fantastic run out. So this is something. And actually, I'm not going to use the whites for row 3. I'm going to use them for row 5, just because all the other things They fit so perfectly here. They fit so perfectly. Yeah, my opponent's trying to oppose me on the middle column, which makes sense. I just continue doing normal people things. Trying to build my bottom rows. Yeah. Okay. So what else can I do? I can take 2 blues, but that would be a mistake because I really need to take care of my row 2. So I think instead I'm going to do this. Yeah. I think that works. And the idea is I'm threatening to put something on row 3. And now, yeah, I think we can just do this. And I'll be okay with discarding stuff on the floor line. Or instead I could just grab this, honestly, for my top. And then if my opponent takes 2 blues, I finish my row 3 with reds. And that's kind of nice. And if my opponent takes 2 reds, I finish my row 4. And that doesn't cost me any floor line points. So that's certainly nice. The advantage with the blues, so let's say if I take the blues here, I will be getting 3 rows finished. And I will also get a bit of extra stuff going on over here. So like the reds, I will be starting from the middle of the top row. So that's quite nice. What else? Yeah, you know what? I think I just prefer getting more stuff completed. Because it does seem that my opponent should... Okay, so they choose not to take the blues. They choose to take the reds for the... Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Reds for the bottom, reds for the top, and they will be trying to build the second row. So it's a roughly equal position. 1 red, 1 gold discarded. Let's see what the run out is. Well, it's an okay run out. Actually not that great for me because they have everything that they need to basically complete all of their objectives. And I sort of kind of have everything I need to complete all of my objectives, but look at these golds that I need for row 3 are a bit awkward. First of all, there are 4 of them, whereas we need only 3, so we will be losing some floor line points, and that's even if we manage to complete some of these golds. Okay, very interesting. I think the blues are a mistake, like because blues are just such a non-priority for me. Like, why would you start with them? But again, I don't like necessarily. Yeah, this is way stronger. Like, if you ask me. So I could just relinquish the control of. The reds. Just allow my opponent to finish the reds. Where's the harm? Where's the harm if we do that? So for example, I could do this, or I could take the reds and actually try to put them in my row 3. The more I think about it, the more I like it. Okay, let's try to think about this. Red, red, red here. Something like this, I can't fully see it. I think I'm gonna need to do something like this. I'm going to relinquish the reds, but also I'm gonna make it so that it is actually difficult for my opponent to. Well, wait a minute. But what if I just take the blues? Here, what if I just take the blues? My opponent's kind of forced to take the whites, and then I take the blacks, and then I'll get some of the golds. Yeah, let's go with the blues. And I'm taking the blues just because my opponent needs them. Yeah, this is going to be full with awkwardness. Because I'm going to take the one black now. And I am getting 2 golds for my row 3, so that's nice. And my opponent is also probably discarding something in their floor line. By the way, we need to keep track of the discard. I keep forgetting. Was it 1-2? Was it 2-1? I think... No, 1 red was discarded. Yeah, just 1 red was discarded last round, wasn't it? I think it was just 1 red, and now it's 2 reds discarded. But so far I kind of like where this is going. Yeah, my opponent plays this move because they kind of have to. And now I have a... Okay. I will pretend that I understand this. Why do they go to the discard and why don't they go to the top row is completely beyond me. I guess they really wanted to do this, but look at this. No, I think that's a mistake, because like if they use the gold here, they could have put the black here. So I don't quite fully understand this. Maybe my opponent was trying to prevent me from dropping 1 black in the floor line, but I don't know. Okay, so 2-2-1 is the discard, and I am 9-0 ahead against the Mind Sports Olympia champion. That's something. That has to be worth something. I mean, I can do so many nasty things. I could take a black. My opponent takes a black. I take a black. They take the reds. I take this. No. Actually, I think I want to wait. I want to do just this for now. And maybe I can get away with 5 blues or something. It would be a nice addition to have. I'm not going to get away with that. But I know what I am going to get away with. So we are stealing either opponent's whites or blacks, I think. I think that's going to work. Because if my opponent takes a white, Then I'm just taking 2 blacks for my row 2 instead of the 2 golds. Or I could do that straight up. I mean, it's fewer points. But is that even such a big problem as fewer points? So blue, blue, blue. This. Yeah, let's go for it. Let's go for it. I will get the golds later. So my opponent, of course, will take 1 white for the top, I presume. And now I'm going to need to make a big decision. Do I want to try and get more golds or more blues? Getting blues looks more appealing because my opponent doesn't need them. Or, no, actually, or wait a second. I could get the gold myself and then I could get the blues and threaten another column. This would be a serious threat. I could legit build 2 columns, and if I don't do that, my opponent's forced to take the blues, and my opponent doesn't really need the blues. No, 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 no. This is good. This is good. It's probably going to work. Yeah, and then I think I need to discard this. And the reason why I'm okay with placing my opponent's gold there, because I need myself gold. Yeah, here's the point. I need gold already in 2 other places, here and here. And so I will be incentivized to steal my opponent's gold from here and here. So, yeah, this is actually like the easiest decision ever. The one that I'm having here. Because I get to have, yeah, it's just like fantastic runouts. I think it should be a win. Almost no matter what. So I'm going to take the gold. And I'm going to take another gold. And then I'm going to take 3 whites for row 3. Yeah, it just looks exceptionally good for me. So let's see. Well, actually, maybe I'm a bit quick. Maybe I should have waited until... Yeah, I don't know why I'm allowing my opponent taking the 3 blacks. Okay, well, let's try this. This is simply to prevent my opponent from completing his bottom row or completing, I don't know, something else worthy of consideration. Okay. Then what could I do? I could just take the 3 blacks straight up. I could take the 1 blue, then my opponent takes the 3 blacks. Then I take maybe 3 whites. No, I don't want to allow 3 blacks. I don't want to allow 3 blacks. Let me just do this. And I think my opponent should take 1 white here. Something like this. Yeah, this would be a big mistake to do something like this. This should take 1 white. They shouldn't be allowing me to just finish in row 4 easy like this. I mean, of course, this would mean sacrificing their row 1, but it's not a big problem. I have lost track of the remaining tiles, I have to confess. And I'm not even sure if there are sufficient number of whites remaining to finish my row 1. I think there is. I think there actually is. Yeah, I think they needed to sacrifice that row. So instead, of course, we have an easy decision. We're going to go here. Then they're going to drop one red, and we will have nothing in the... We have no incomplete row heading to the last round. So this is certainly looking very good. Our opponent still needs a gold at the top and 2 blacks to gain all the objectives. Will they get what they need? Well, they get the 1 blue as well. Actually, I didn't think that there were so few blues remaining. Because I didn't count. Maybe me not at my wisest. But I still think 12 points, I mean, it should be hard to overcome. It should be hard to overcome. Well, actually, it's not that hard because like 12 points is just... This is what it is. This is 12 points. With this one move. And then there are some things which fit really neatly for my opponent. Well, anyway, I think I have to take the whites. And then after that, I'll be just trying to get as much value as possible anywhere. And I will try to threaten 3 reds going over here, because there are 3 reds. And I think we should just barely scrape by. Yeah, so you see, my opponent is certainly outsmarting me when it comes to tile tracking, and I have just no room cognitively for tile tracking. Okay. So, they already discard quite a bit. Well, I think I can just get this, right? So if because I take 5 points at the bottom, let's say black, they take this, I take this, yeah, and we're good. I'm just trying to calculate quickly, but the point is that this whole sequence is forced. And I should win as a result of these extra 5 points at the bottom. And of course, I wanted to prevent my opponent from getting 3 points over here as well. And now, again, another easy decision, which will force 1 extra point into my opponent's floor line, because I, of course, need to take these guys in order to prevent my opponent from completing their row 5 for an extra 2 points. I take the 2 whites, and my opponent will be discarding the 1 black. So it's turned out to be very close. Incredibly close, actually. But the only reason why I won is basically these extra 5 points at the bottom. Well, not the only reason, but look at this. Only a +6 win, so I'm playing more intuitively. So I'm playing more positionally. I'm trying to just kind of put tiles where they look good. This is the key to most of this game, but also I had some good runouts, I think. Especially in the penultimate round, like with all these yellows. And even though I ended up giving away my top row, just because my opponent had, I think, a bit more on the floor line, so let's have a look. Yeah, let's look at this 20 points discarded on the floor line, whereas all the other stats are basically the same, and this is what made the difference. And the main thing for the end was these 5 points were super important, but also not just these 5 points, but the threat of these 5 points that I created with these 3 reds. This forced my opponent to go for 3 reds instead of the 3 blacks or the 3 golds, all of which would have given more points to my opponent than to myself. Also, even though that there was only 1 blue remaining, my opponent was forced to spend a move and a point on discarding that tile, and as a result I was able to grab some other important tile groups. Well, anyway, I have in me a couple more for today. Now feeling a bit more motivated after winning against the reigning Mindsports Olympiad champion, even though I made some questionable moves. Hi, Daka. Yes, thanks for the kind words. Make sure to place a tile on the like button. Ah, there we go. Challenge from you. So, I've played against Daka a couple times on my Carcassonne Against Subscribers stream. I think for AZUL Against Subscribers, this might be a first. Well, 400 rating, so this will be not straightforward, and also a fantastic run out for my opponent. But I think Daka, this is a bit of a mistake. Because it doesn't create a threat. I mean, actually, I don't know. Maybe it's decent, because the idea of my opponent is that this would be an exception to the rule, in the sense that it's not such a bad idea to start from the outer column as opposed to one of the 3 middle columns, which would be the normal start. But the problem of a move like this is that it doesn't have a threat. So imagine if, for example, if these blacks were here, or here even, then I would need to worry against my opponent completing a more valuable row, like row 4. So now I think the move is just to simply grab the first player tile. I can't really take away 2 blacks, because that would... No. I mean, that would give my opponents 2 reds pretty easily, so I'm gonna do this. And honestly, I'm just gonna try and hammer my way through the middle column. Like, I will have... Wait a second. So I was thinking my idea would be like, I don't know, getting blacks, then like getting... But now I have a different idea. I think I just want to force everything very quickly. Allow my opponent to grab 1 gold if they want. And then now I'm guaranteed row 3. No matter what I do. Okay, now, yeah, this is very, very interesting. I'm guaranteed row 3, and I'm guaranteed something good on my bottom row. Well, actually, do I even care about row 3 that much? Maybe I don't. Or I could do this actually. Yeah, I could just grab. I could just go here and build the middle column. If my opponent takes the blues, that's okay, and then I just take the reds and have at 1 point in my middle column. Or I could just grab the blues straight up. But if I grab the blues straight up, my opponent grabs the blacks. Also, I have no problem with my opponent taking the blues. It looks like it's super scary that they have 6 points at the start. The reason why it's not so scary is because eventually they're going to get those 6 points anyway. Like, they're getting some point of blue here eventually. So it's not that important to prevent it as it is. So we're going to do that. And yeah, they instead choose to take away row 3 from me, but I don't think this is even the best decision. Like, I'm completely fine with not completing one of my rows. I just get a lot of tiles neatly aligned in my column. The discard is, what's the discard? 2001, that's the discard. I get a beautiful run out here. I mean, I don't get to complain about that. But what do we do with it? That's the question. I think I might take the 2 blues just to prevent my opponent from taking the 2 blues, which they do need. Yeah, I think this is the best move. And then if my opponent takes the whites, I'm okay with this because I'm just going to take 2 reds with tempo. I will make sure that my opponent cannot finish the row 4 because there are only 5 reds in total. If I take 2 of them, my opponent has only 3. And then at the end of the day, I will be able to put either 2 or 3 whites here, which I'm completely fine with. My opponent instead chooses the gold, which is interesting. Do I just take the reds instead? I think I might take the red instead. Yeah, I really want to prevent my opponent from finishing row 4. Okay. Okay. I'll bite. Then I'll grab this one to prevent my opponent from finishing row 2. I have no shame. I have no sense of shame whatsoever. Yeah, I mean, I'm not giving my opponent row 2, just no matter what. I don't care about the floor line losses. It will all get paid back later to me. Hi, Pchan19. I will get some floor line points, but it just does not matter. And actually, if I were Daka, I think I would have gone more aggressive. Instead of going here, I think this white belongs here because Daka needs this for adjacency bonuses. And also, since I have my road 4 occupied with the whites, Daka will be wanting to get the whites anyway. So actually, a stronger move would have been to simply place the whites on row 3. Yeah, so I think this is just an unnecessary discard. It's like just no reason to lose so many points. Okay, so we are 1-0 ahead. Lovely. Okay, so what are we having? 3 blues go to my opponent. And then my idea is to sneak 2 blues or 2 blacks for the top row. Okay, we can go quite conservative here. The whites are a bit sensitive. But my opponent will need to spend multiple moves because he only has 1 spot over here where he can disturb me. Okay, I think this should solve all my problems. Now I get the whites, and white, white, blue, black. Huh. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, because I get... And if my opponent takes the one blue, I take the black. And if my opponent takes the black, I take the blue. And then I probably even get something from my row 3, so it's quite nice. And I get the starting player advantage. So yeah, I think what Daka should have done is they should have had this white over here in the previous round. Then they should have grabbed these whites one by one just to prevent me from completing my row 4. Because the thing is, like, if you prevent your opponent from completing row 4, specific row 4, it very messes with the scoring, because now I will be scoring a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 points for this column. But if I were to finish this column first, and then basically if I finish my row before row 5 before row 4, I only get to score 1, 2, 3, 1, 5, 4 fewer, no, like 3 fewer points. It's like 1, 4, 3, 1, 5, 6. Yeah, 12 points. So that's minus 3 points just because of the order in which you complete the column. Of course, now we need to take the blue as the only option. Yeah, but the idea is, like, there's really, really a lot of value in disrupting your opponent's row 4, and this is something that my opponent could have done. Of course, now they get the reds, which is very good for their column, but also golds are fantastic for me because I get all 5 rows completed. It's just really, really good position for me. Again, just a fantastic position. I'm not gonna count tiles. I just know that I'm getting either row 4. Yeah, and the idea here, the idea behind this move is just I'm getting row 3 with whites, and I'm also preventing my opponent from getting row 3 with whites. And then actually I even get to threaten row 4 with 4 reds. That's interesting. My opponent probably takes the 4 reds, so... Okay, so now... I could actually mess with my opponent and, like, make them... No, but it's not worth it. Yeah, because I was thinking of, like, taking 1 gold and throwing it on the floor, but it just doesn't work. Okay, now I'm forced to do this. And now if my opponent takes the gold... Yeah, exactly. So they can't take the gold, but now I take the gold. And I force my opponent to discard. They now have to take the blues because this is the only option, and they will be getting only 0 points for the top row instead of 4 points for the top row. So that's nice. 0 because it's 1 point for the top row plus losing 1 point in the floor line. Of course, they're getting now points for the column, but it doesn't count because they would be getting these points later. Now here, there's a bit of finesse. So if I take 1 red here, drop it in the floor line, my opponent takes 2 blacks, that's 3 points. But if I take 2 blacks myself, that's kind of cool because it's... I mean, I only win 2 points, but I create another threat, which is super nice. But I'm not going to do that because I'm greedy. I want to go for the immediate gratification of 3 points. and also because I haven't tile tracked properly. Well, this would have worked. Also, I will end up without one of my rows, but it should be fine. I don't think there's a world in which I'm losing this, so... My opponent is forcing a move. They placed a white, so I have to place a white myself. I will be now doing everything within my power to make things merge as quickly as possible. And actually, I can see exactly how I'm going to do that. Look at this. Look at this. It's pretty neat. Like, if my opponent grabs 2 golds, then I grab 2 reds, and my opponent should enjoy a lot of points in the floor line. Yeah, because like 5 blues go to my opponent's floor line. It's really a lot. And if my opponent takes the 2 blacks, which they really shouldn't, then I take 1 red, and then they lose even more in the floor line. Yeah, I mean, this move sort of makes sense, but there's really not all that much that my opponent can do. This, in fact, does seem to be the strongest move. So what do we do? Do we take one? Let's actually try to calculate this out. So let's say if we take 2 gold, my opponent takes a couple of reds. Then we take blacks. My opponent loses a boatload of points. Okay, let's do the math. Let's do the math. So 2 golds go here. 2 reds go here. And then my opponent's gaining 3, 6, 10 as a result of these reds. Then 13, and they lose 13 as well. So this actually will be a completely even exchange. This is very interesting. So no points, like no feelings hurt. Oh, no, this is not an even exchange. It is an even exchange. This is so fascinating. It will be a completely even exchange. I'm not sure if you're following, but I'm just trying to calculate how much they would gain extra and how much they would lose in the floor line. Okay. But if I take a red, my opponent kind of needs to take a gold, which gives them 7, 6, 8 points. Then I take a red, which gives me 7, so that's -1 for me. Then they take the black, and they gain 2 points, which is... No, they gain 1 point, because they lose here. So -3 for me. And then I get this, and I get 5. So that actually so this sequence gives me 2 extra points in comparison to the other sequence. Am I wrong? I don't think I am. I don't think I'm wrong. Actually, I am wrong, because I forgot that they can use the blacks over here, which means that all sequences are worth like the exact same. Yeah, this is funny. Yeah, so this is a dead equal sequence, except that I'm also allowing my opponent to complete a line. So this is slightly worse. Well, anyway, this is what I'm capable of at the moment. You can see from my elo I'm in a bit of a rough shape. My normal is like 850. And I didn't manage to qualify in the playoffs for the Mind Sports Olympiad. I did manage, though, to qualify for the World Championships, which is happening in Portugal. For those of you who haven't heard, I am going to Portugal later in April. Well, anyway, good game, Daka. Yes, I think some very nice ideas, but this whole idea of starting with the early column, it just doesn't work. I mean, it sometimes does, but like if you start, you gotta follow it up. So basically, try to build completely adjacently. Because I think the main problem for Daka is that this thing from this is like completely disconnected. But look, but in my construction, everything, the row 3s, the row 4s, everything is super connected. And I even managed to get this guy. Like, this is really, and this guy over here, like this guy over here. So each one of them is worth a boatload of points. And if we just look at points placed with tiles, so this is the main source of the difference, 68 versus 44. Okay, so the floor line, I was only slightly, ever so slightly more efficient, and of course the big features happen to be exactly the same. Well, anyway, thanks for the game, Daka. Maybe one more. I'll think about this if we have challenges. Well, we don't. So maybe I'm gonna play last one. See if we can try find an expert. Okay, that was quick. I have played against this player a lot. Wow, so I am saying to everybody, don't start with the outer column, but here, this actually might be justified. Well, not really, because if I take one of the reds, my opponent's gonna take one of the golds. Okay, okay. Let's try calculate this. Reds, golds, reds, golds, reds. No. This does not work. This does not work. None of that works. Okay, I'm gonna let my opponent do this. Like, this is just better, I think. I'm gonna try column 4. And I'm gonna allow my opponent's column 2 essentially. Yeah, that makes sense for sure. Actually, we have time. We can do this. I know I'm being a bit weird, but I think there is a bit of an idea behind this. There is a bit of an idea behind this. Let's try this. I will be getting at least a piece of the column that I like. Okay. Yeah, I thought my opponent might feel that way, but it is what it is. There was really nothing much that we could have done. Now the question is, do we just drop points? I don't wanna. I wanna be weird. I wanna be weird, okay? If we get a lot of whites, we get a lot of whites. But I don't like discarding. So I'm gonna mismatch. I'm gonna try to unclog. And the runout is okay to do that, sort of, kind of. Okay, so I think we definitely need to take care of the blacks quite soon. And we're relatively unscathed. I mean, it is unpleasant that our opponent has... This is weird. I don't think it's a good move. I mean... It is very tempting for me to block this. It is very tempting. Okay, let me try to think. So what are some alternatives? So I could either... What if I just allow my opponent to do... Oh! I could take one black here, and if my opponent takes the whites, I take the blues... And if my opponent like takes the one black or something, takes the blacks, I take, yeah, let's do this. So let's take one black. Okay, I might get a lot of floor line points, but I think it's worth it. It's just too good. Too good. Yeah, but you see, now my opponent denies me that opportunity. So the way I repay my opponent, I think now I take the 2 whites. But where do I put them? Maybe I put them in my row 3? Is that weird? Is that... I don't know. Yeah, because like no matter what my opponent does... Oh, maybe I just discard them. This is very interesting. Yeah, because what happens... Okay, so if my opponent... Nah... No, my opponent's gonna take one black. That's the problem. That's always the problem. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna let him finish. That's fine. And the purpose of this is this move here. Just to create inconvenience for my opponent. They're pivoting? Well, I mean, surely. Actually, do I just let them? Maybe it's like a weird psychological thing that they're doing. They're just trying to induce me. Yeah, whoa, no. What am I doing? What am I doing? Let them take the reds. It's not a very strong move. Let them take the reds. I mean, I don't know though. Having reds in my row 3, it's kind of advantageous. But now my opponent needs reds in 2 places, so that's kind of nice. My opponent gets a fantastic run out, so that's not nice. Well, I do get my fair share of whites, so I don't get to complain in that regard. Huh. I'm tempted to do just this. Okay. I mean, this is a really, really big... Okay, so I do this. My opponent takes the blues. Then I take the one white. I think I take the one white for my... Actually, no. Just let them do whatever they want. Because now I think I can get some blues. Or I get to do this, maybe. No, no, no. Let's try this. Let's be, like, extremely aggressive. Let's now take this. Okay, I don't think that works at all, right? Because I can just take this and boom. Either my opponent discards heavily or I get everything that I want. Ooh. I think it will end up with my opponent discarding heavily. And in that case, I'm sort of okay with not having enough whites. Because really... Okay, okay, so this is now different, right? So now I think I need to take the blacks. Because I want my opponent to clog up. Hmm. Yeah. Or do I just go normally? Do I just take the blues? Then my opponent takes the blacks, I discard. And then, you know what? Then I'm able to use the blacks here anyway. So I think I just rather hammer down on the blues. Yeah, it's okay. We can let them. Eventually they're going to complete the column anyway. We have a boatload of points. Like, we'll be fine. We're at plus 12. Okay, so let's now take away some of these good blacks. And should my opponent take the whites, okay, so it's not a problem anymore. Well, I guess we can just try completing our column. Just straight up. Everything's very, very straightforward. Ah. Yeah, we can't really do this, can we? Actually, no, we can. Yep. That's the idea. And now we go here. And now we complete this. And everything should be quite beautifully ready for, I think, victory, but I'm not sure if there isn't enough, if there's a sufficient number for blacks for my opponent to complete their second column. There might, yeah, there is, but I'm not gonna let them because the run out's pretty good about that. And there's enough tiles for me to do basically anything I want. So if my opponent takes whites, Am I okay with them taking whites? Nope, I'm not. Yeah, I know I'm gonna need to discard a little bit, that's fine. That's completely understandable. And then either we both score or neither of us score. So either they take the reds to prevent me from taking the reds. But then if they do that, then I'm forced to discard them 3 golds. Or they take 3 golds themselves, in which case I can either force them to discard 2 reds, which is only worth 2 points, or take 2 reds myself, which is worth 4 points to me. So yeah, this actually seems to be the best move for them. I got it. Okay. Oh, dude, it's being a bit. My camera's being a bit weird. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Well, not my camera's being weird. I'm actually trying a new sitting position, which is supposedly healthier for your back. Supposedly. Because, you know, this sedentary lifestyle of streaming really gets to you at some point. Well, anyway. What is my opponent doing? My opponent's thinking. Thinking. Well, yeah. We've decided already that we're going to take the 4 points. And my opponent is saying thanks for the game, and we're thanking them for the game as well. All right, so a victory of plus 13. Look at this, and I get 0 rating. This is so ridiculous, because like the new board game arena system basically penalizes you for playing against the same opponent or for winning against the same opponent multiple times in a row. And at some point, the penalty is so harsh that it negates the entire rating that you would have gained. So basically now, Board Game Arena gives me no incentive to play against this player ever. Because I can't win, I can only lose. If I win, my elo stays the same, and if I lose, I will lose heavily, like 15 points, because of the elo difference that we have. So the reason why Board Game Arena implemented these changes is to basically like prevent people from cheating and having second accounts and boosting their own elo. But people who want to cheat will find a way anyway, and this type of stuff hurts regular players way more than it helps prevent cheating. So yeah, this is a bit unfortunate. Well, anyway, elo doesn't matter. Well, it does a little bit. Like, would be nicer if it were a little bit higher. Anyway, alright, we get a challenge from Daka. Sure, we could do one more. Why not? Not gonna say no. Alrighty. Well, this is a difficult run out to play from. Of course, my opponent very wisely takes the 3 blues. But actually, I mean, we'll be fine. We'll take the 3 golds. Like, it's not horrible. We can live with this. But you see, the problem with these 3 blues is just it creates so many good opportunities. Oh, they seem to have passed up on these opportunities, so that's nice. My goal is to... Well, I'm trying to build the middle column, but I'm now having second thoughts about it. I am having second thoughts about it. Yeah, thought so. Well, let's try this. I could take this, that. I guess let's go here. No, I'll end up discarding a bit too much. Is that a problem, though? What if I take this? My opponent takes the black, I take the red. And then we sort of discard the same amount. Or if I take the black now, my opponent takes the red, my opponent takes the blue, I take the red, my opponent takes the blue, I take the... So I just end up discarding one more. Now we're fine. We're fine. Now I could actually force my opponent to discard more. Let's say I take one blue, my opponent takes one red, I take one blue, my opponent takes 2 gold. Yeah, that basically negates all his 6 points. I think it's worth doing. It's absolutely worth doing. But yeah, I don't have full confidence in what I'm doing. Slightly misaligned top row. I have the same number of tiles invested as my opponent. And I have 3 more points, so that's nice. 1, 2, 1 are the discarded tiles, and oh boy, this is horrible. Oh, that's quite the run out. Actually, let's force things. Let's grab this. Surely this can't be bad. And then if my opponent grabs blacks, I grab blacks somewhere. And then I think... Maybe I don't grab blacks, actually. Maybe there's a better way to do this. What if I take 1 gold? No. There has to be a better way of doing this. Okay, well, if I take 2 blacks... Yeah, my opponent can just take 1 blue and destroy me. That's the problem. And disrupt my row. But is that such a big problem, though? Okay, my opponent takes 1 blue. I take 2 reds. My opponent takes 3 gold. That could actually work. That could actually work. Is that worth doing though? They take 3. No, I don't think it is. I think I'm just going to need to let my opponent take the blacks. Or if they take the golds, then I take the blues, and then they take the blacks, and then I discard. Now, see, this type of stuff I should have calculated before. Also, tile tracking, I don't really remember last round. Okay, so there were 2 golds. Actually, I remember 1, 2, 1. So now the discarded tiles are 1, 2, 2, and the way I count them is from here. So 1 red, 2 golds, 2 blues. This is interesting. Well, now that I think about this, I can make sure that my opponent doesn't have row 2, and I do. But do I want to do that though? Or we can just both live without row 2. I mean, this has to be a mistake by my opponent. Okay. So my 2 options are, we can either take the blacks for row 2. Then my opponent's going to take 1 red. I take 1 red. My opponent takes... So we just discard both load. Or I can take 2 gold straight up. My opponent takes 2 blacks for row 2. And I take like 1... They do end up getting a lot of blacks. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. And in both cases, I end up discarding quite a lot. I think we're going to go with the more traditional approach. Yes, we will be discarding. But my opponents will be discarding 2. And the absence of row 2 should cost them. Because like even now, I'm not even behind on points. Oh, this is Christmas. This run out. The Christmas. I don't even, yeah, obviously I need to take this just to prevent my opponent from benefiting too easily. And oh, this is just absolute Christmas. And actually, I don't think I even need the blacks anymore. Because I can instead build whites. I can take a boatload of whites at the bottom. Okay, or maybe not, or maybe not. Let me think about this. Or I could go here. Or let's take the blacks afterwards. Not sure. Okay, what could I do? Yeah, let's try to do this first. And then if my opponent takes 3 whites for some reason, then I take blacks. Well, let's see. Let's see what they do. But I kind of start liking the idea of switching columns. Well, not anymore. Not switching columns. I'm playing this maybe a bit too traditionally. Now that I think about this, I will need whites elsewhere. Like, I will still need whites in row 1, row 2 eventually. So putting 3 whites in my bottom row is maybe not necessarily the most productive approach there is. Yeah. Let's take an extra black. And if my opponent has any sense that they should take the reds. And then, but then should I take the whites? I actually don't think so. I think the correct move here is to force a double discard because, this is a very instructive moment, okay? So, my 2 options are either going here and my opponent going here, in which case we both have an extra row clogged, but neither of us loses points. But the problem is that my opponent benefits from blues here more than benefit from whites here, because from white here I'm threatening to take 3 points, and my opponent from blues here is threatening to take 6 points. So this is way too powerful. So I would rather discard these blues just to make sure that my opponent also discards, and then we both lose points, except that my row 3 is not clogged with whites. And also there are many reds remaining, which means that I need to keep row 3 open for reds. By the way, now it totally is the case. So actually, another instructive... Wait. Is it really that instructive as I think it is? Because I was kind of thinking that I'd start with reds to prevent my opponent from grabbing reds. But also all these blacks are... Nope, they're not scary. They're not scary at all. I will get my blacks, no problem. And also, I don't even need to finish row 3 necessarily. All I need to make sure is that my opponent does not finish row 3. Okay. I'm just going to quickly make sure that I can get what I want. And then, okay, white. Okay, so blue, 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 double threat. Yeah, let's go for this. Blue goes here. Actually, no. Blue goes here. Because I want to finish my row 2. And if my opponent grabs blue, exactly, that's why they don't do that. Then we do this. And then I think we should be able to accomplish all our objectives. The best move here, I think, is to take the 3 blacks for row 3. Because actually, I'm not sure if I have enough blacks for... Wait a minute. I should have thought about this earlier. Okay, let me think about this. So, The number of blacks, 7, 10, 17. Are there 3 blacks remaining? I think so. I think there are, actually. So I can afford to do this. And I will be continuing my row 1 a little bit. Even if it's just by 2 points. Well, yeah, that makes sense, and certainly this is forced. But I think, again, like, going... No, like, going here with the blacks and then doing the same thing, I would be forced to take the white. My opponent will do the same thing. It's just, like, way better for Daka here. So I think there was a... Oh, look at this. Perfect counting. There was indeed 3 missing, so... Oh, Daka's first. That's a problem. That's a big, big problem. Yeah, so they finished the game, but it's not like they had any choice. And I think now all we need to do is just not think about it too much, put all the colors where they belong. We need to deal with all the whites before they get converged in the center. Basically, that's the main point. Oh, let's create a double threat, actually. Look at this. So either we get the 4 reds or we get the 4 golds. We don't get the 4 golds, but we do get the 4 reds, and surprisingly, we're somehow getting away without discarding any tiles. This is so interesting. Yeah, because we get the blacks here and then the reds at the bottom. It's quite aesthetically appealing to not discard tiles in the last round, I think. So, yeah, thanks for the game, Daka. I mean, like, again, like, it's sort of, it was really those early rounds where my opponent got into a difficult position. They had a good opening against me. I started my opening in a slightly dubious way. But then, what they ended up doing, it's in round 2, they became in a position where they sacrificed their row 2, and I chose to sacrifice my floor line, but get these adjacency bonuses from row 2. And then throughout the multiple rounds, those adjacency bonuses accrue, so you get like 5 extra points, and then you get 2 extra points for the total, for the completed line. And it's just really an early sacrifice of row 2 very, very rarely works. So I think that was the main thing. And after that, like, the comeback attempt by Daka was very good. Also, this idea to threaten with the blues here was very good. So yeah, I just ended up a difficult situation here for my opponent, but thank you for the game. Let's have a quick look at the stats. So, not even a big disparity with the floor line. So it was mostly points gained with placed tiles. So just due to that early row 2 thing, it really accumulates quite a lot. But of course there were some other things as well. So what did I manage to build that my opponent hadn't? Well, this extra square over there. Yeah, so this is really it. Like, the extra adjacency bonuses from row 2 and 1 extra square over there. Interesting. Well, anyway, this has been already a 2-hour stream. And given that I also wanted to shoot a video today, I will be probably wrapping it up unless like a challenge appears in like 5 seconds or something. We've played 5 games today. 4 wins, 1 loss. Genki's asking, is there a way to get it fixed? It's sure that it does more harm than good. About the ELO stuff, yeah, I know so that people from the international Carcassonne community are communicating with them about this, and it does seem that they are taking it somewhat seriously, but it is not clear exactly if their voices are not going to be heard or not. But obviously many players are not happy about this, which is, I would say, the majority of players, because obviously the majority of players are honest and don't cheat regarding and don't cheat with you know, self-promotions and ELO and stuff like that. So it's sort of really the players community paying for the sins of a vast minority, of small minority of people. So that's a bit unfortunate. That's very unfortunate, actually. And another problem with the system, by the way, so it disincentivizes you from playing with the same player multiple times. As you saw, like, I have no ELO incentive from playing against Ricochet, the player against whom the previous game were, not Daka, but like a game before, for those of you who are just joining. And let's actually have a look. So there was this game. Yeah, so Ricochet was the opponent. Yeah, of course, there's going to be issues. So Ricochet. Yeah, so then after a certain point, there's no incentive to play with the same player multiple times. But when there is such a situation, it's not very good for mind sports, because there's something beautiful about playing like a 20-game match or 10-game match with somebody, because that's in a game with variants such as AZUL or especially Carcassonne. You want for your matches to be like at least a best of 5 or a best of 9 or something like this, for the skill to start showing. And also, you know, there's this like chess vibe, how they had matches for World Championship when there's like 16 games, 12 games, 24 games, and none of that's really, well, I mean, it is possible in Board Game Arena, but there's like less incentive for that. Let's actually filter that out. Oh, look at this. This is very interesting. So you can see how the ELO goes down that you add. +5, +4, +4, +3, +2, +1, +0. And then every subsequent game is going to be +0, +0, +0. Well, and you see, and the loss of this is like -16. So the losses do not get, so the loss of ELO when you lose to a player against whom you played repeatedly, it is still the same as if you're playing once, but then the ELO that you gain is less. So yeah, that was the point that I was trying to bring. But anyway, Nalaheim has already made a video complaining about this on his channel a few months ago, mostly in relation to Carcassonne. All right, well, thank you for joining this spontaneous, semi-spontaneous AZUL stream. There will be going to be another AZUL Against Viewers game stream in a month. Next week, I'm streaming a mega stream. I am streaming Copa America, basically the championship, the Carcassonne Championship of the Americas. There are 9 teams playing there. Brazil, Cuba for the first time ever, Guatemala, Mexico, USA, no Canada unfortunately, but there's Argentina, Peru, no Uruguay, no Paraguay, I think. There's Chile. No, actually, maybe there's no Chile, which is very weird. But anyway, there are 9 different countries. Cuba is in it. So that's a new team. I'm excited for that. And the stream is going to last like at least 6 hours, maybe 8, maybe 10. So if you want to have like a really big weekend of Carcassonne, then join me next week, March 23rd for the group stage and March 24th for the playoffs. And then a week after that, I am streaming my first ever AZUL